The Republicans may occupy the White House and have a majority in both houses of Congress, but history teaches that fundamental reform, particularly of the tax code, has required at least some bipartisan support. Joining us now is one of the leaders of the Democratic Party, Governor Terry McAuliffe of Virginia. Governor McAuliffe took office 2 years ago now after a long career that has spanned both Democratic politics and business. Welcome to the program. Welcome to Bloomberg, Governor McAuliffe.
David, great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about that bipartisan support for tax reform. Last time we had fundamental tax reform in this country was in the early days of the Reagan administration, and we had a senator named Bill Bradley, a Democrat from New Jersey, who was essential to getting that done. Is there a possibility this time of the Democrats coming together with the Republicans for tax reform?
Yeah, I think the time is right for massive tax reform. I think we'd all be supportive. The one thing we'd love to see, David, I'd like to see repatriate some of that money that is overseas. We ought to bring that money back here, create jobs here in the United States of America. I think our tax code is outdated. So I think the time is right to come together. Our goal, get more as a governor, put more money into people's pockets, let them spend more, get consumers spending up, help us create more jobs, and that's how you can turbocharge our economy. Give people more money, keep taxes low, and that's how you can stimulate an economy. And I think the time is right to bring people together to do this.
So the last time this happened, basically the deal, oversimplifying, was let's cut rates and eliminate a lot of deductions. Simplify the whole thing. Yeah. That requires everybody giving up something, particularly when it comes to limiting those deductions. Are the Democrats prepared to really address some tough decisions on deductions?
Well, and I think it's on both sides, in fairness, David, but I think you have to go into any negotiation saying we're going to have a discussion on all the different issues. Everybody's got to give something. You know, it's unfortunate in politics today, no one seems willing to compromise. No one seems to come together. You know, I consider myself a very fiscally conservative, pro-business Democrat, socially progressive. You know, you got to compromise. I work with Republican legislatures. I have a Republican legislature in Virginia. We work together on economic development. We all come from a different point, but we come together at the end, what's good for the state of Virginia. That's what we have to do in this country. But, you know, let's start out saying, let's put everything on the table. Let's at least have that discussion. Let's begin from there. But if you go into a discussion, you automatically say, well, we can't touch this, we can't touch that. The negotiations won't go very far. So I've always come from a place, you know, we can talk about anything. We ought to be able to do it. Some things we may want to preserve. I mean, obviously, as a governor, the deductibility, state and local income, of course, as you know, David, is a big, big issue for states. But it doesn't mean we can't have a discussion, and everything we ought to be looked at, and the number involved and the percentages we ought to be able to put on the table and have a discussion.
One of the things that's very much on the table because of Speaker Ryan is the border adjustment tax. Have you taken a look at that and the effect it might have on your state of Virginia?
I am very concerned. You know, I'm a big agriculture state. Our trade last year was about $33 billion. We're exporting all over the globe. We need to be very careful. I come from a place that I am all for fair, free trade. I happen to have been out. I supported President Obama on TPP. Those 11 countries, David, about 63% of my exports in Virginia went to those 11 countries. I am very concerned today that of those 11 countries, China is now going to negotiate a direct deal with each one of them. And guess what? The United States will be left out, and Virginia will be left out. Listen, you give me a trade deal where you protect worker rights and you protect environmental rights and you make sure it's a tough trade deal. If it's a fair trade deal, David, I will compete against anybody around the globe. Let us have a deal where we can negotiate and trade around the globe. It is a global economy. 95% of the world's customers live outside the United States of America. That's why I travel so much. I've done 22 trade missions to dozens of countries. Our economy, I've got unemployment, went from 5.4 in Virginia when I became governor. I got it all the way down to 3.7. It's sitting at 4.1 today. Initial unemployment claims are now the lowest level since 1973 because it's a global market. We're selling all over the globe, and I'm just very concerned with these border taxes that they will come back and bite us and cost us jobs. For me, at the end of the day, how do we create more jobs? I'm very proud since I've been governor. We've created 185,000 new jobs since I've been governor, almost $15 billion of new capital investment. That's because we're trading and doing business in a global way.
You're concerned about trade. You've also expressed your concerns about some of the immigration policies coming out. You've written specifically to the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kelly and expressed your concerns as the governor of Virginia. Tell us how that affects your citizens and your state specifically.
Well, I can tell you, first of all, on two issues. The president's executive order on the travel ban already has had an impact. I've already lost several site visits to Virginia from folks outside who wanted to come in, one advanced manufacturing, one agriculture, who said, it's just not the time to come to America. I'm very concerned about the chilling effect as it relates to our business, as it relates to these new immigration policies. And I did read General Kelly, and I want to thank him. I will be meeting with him Sunday morning with the ICE officials to talk about this. My concern is, if we change course here in America, we can now just randomly stop anyone we want. We had a bad situation in Virginia. We had individuals coming out of a church, out of a hypothermia sanctuary, who were there for the night to get out of the cold, and they were randomly, 6, 7 ICE agents randomly went up to people. The first person they talked to was a legal resident. So I'm very concerned. What will happen is it will be a chilling effect. Individuals with communicable diseases will no longer seek medical care. Folks will not work with law enforcement. It will drive people underground. And take Northern Virginia, booming economy, 32.5% of the Northern Virginia economy business, small business, is foreign-born owners. So we got to be careful that we don't have a stifling impact on our economy. It all, for me, comes back to jobs, and we need to be very careful that we're not having a chilling effect, scaring people. Listen, we're the land of opportunity. We're all immigrants, David. Unless you know we're Native American. In 1607, 3 ships came from England. They didn't go to New York. Right. They didn't go to Maryland, Pennsylvania. They came to Virginia. Right. And we didn't say at the water's edge, no, you're not allowed in this country. Open, welcoming, dynamic economy. We are cranking in Virginia today because we do business on a global basis, and we're open and welcoming, and we treat everybody with dignity, respect, and we respect civil liberties.
So let's talk about, finally, something that is at least perceived as not cranking right now. That's the Democratic Party. And where we're going with the Democratic Party, what the leadership's going to come from. I mean, we've seen President Trump come in and really steal part of your base. Traditionally, the Democratic Party has appealed to labor, particularly organized labor. We saw just today, AFL-CIO is cutting its staff dramatically. What is the future leadership going to take us in the Democratic Party, and particularly at a time when, instead of the DLC, the old Democratic Leadership Conference, so that you know well, went to the center, we have the Center for American Progress going to the left. Where is the Democratic Party headed?
Well, I'll tell you, this is where the Democratic Party better be headed. We ought to be the party of economic expansion, jobs, and opportunity. That's why I focused. I'm happy to say all the polls, I'm popular in Virginia today. Why? Because I focus every day on economic development to grow and diversify the economy. Our party, we've had a great history on economic development. If you look at what President Obama inherited and the 18 million new jobs created, but, no one really even talked about that, David. The idea that we did not carry Michigan in the last election when literally President Obama saved the auto industry, well, shame on us. Our party, and I would say it's got to be driven by the governors, because we are in the front line of economic development every single day. We are responsible for job creation. If we have jobs, we have economic impact. We have money to invest in an education system to build our workforce. That is our message. And nobody wants to hear anything unless they want to hear a politician tell them, how are you going to make my life better? How are you going to get me a high-paying job? I have spent so much time in the last 3 years, David, diversifying the Virginia economy. Cybersecurity, biosciences, human genome sequencing. We have got to build a workforce here in America for the 21st century. And that means building a great workforce, which starts with education. Invest in education, you'll build that workforce, and you can create jobs. Democratic Party, that should be their focus. And a lot of this other stuff that a lot of people spend a lot of hot air talking about is absolutely meaningless to the men and women who are sitting home now worried about their child's education. Are they getting quality health care?